Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm not sure if anyone saw my message. We are at the end of our facilitator schedule. If anybody wants to facilitate, I have an extra very barky dog at home, so
Um, I was just going to ask if we had someone because I was realizing that I didn't know who it might be.
I
be a
would
good
love
thing.
to host today.
Well, that would be lovely. I'm happy to scribe.
Awesome. All right. Because I'm entirely prepared for this, let me bring up the notes. All right. Welcome, welcome. We'll get started here in just a minute. For those who are just joining us, we will continue to drop the meeting notes link into the chat. Please add any agenda items you'd like to discuss. Where is... And for meeting purposes, reminder that this meeting is being recorded. It's posted to LFX shortly after. Your participation in these meetings is an agreement to abide by the Cloud Native Security Code of Conduct, which can be found in the Tag Security repo. We have scribes for today. Wonderful. So we can make sure everything gets recorded and written. And for any existing members, working group reps, etc., please include any updates that you'd like to discuss within the agenda. All right. Do we have any new members joining us today who would like to introduce themselves? If so, please feel free to come off mute and or raise your hand and we can call on you. All right. Moving forward. Community demo. I did not look at the schedule for today. Do we have anything scheduled for today? Does anybody know?
I just checked. No.
Thank you. So today will certainly be a little bit of a standard, maybe ad hoc topics and or check-ins from groups. Otherwise, it is what we make of it. Let's see, if we go ahead and hit the other time zone, I could go ahead and probably share my screen here so people know at least what I'm looking at. You can see probably all of my open tabs for trying to organize my flights for KubeCon. We would want to visit the APAC tag meeting to review the other time zone meeting if there was anybody
There
there.
doesn't appear to have been anything.
Agreed. It looks like few participants, and so that session was skipped. Roger. moving forward, TOC meeting updates. I feel like I might have missed the last public TOC meeting. Have there been any TOC meeting updates that we wanted to discuss?
No, I think yesterday was because they do it by the Tuesday of the month, and so yesterday was like the 5th or something, so they didn't do one. And I haven't seen anything else on GitHub or anything that we should talk about here, but if anyone else has.
I just
Go ahead.
sorry. I was going to say the last there was a closed meeting for the sandbox review. Rather than speaking to any of the specifics of what happened during the meeting, I would say overall, it feels like the process of sandbox reviews and especially the contributions from the folks in tag security and compliance has been a substantial improvement from the previous experience. So I was working with the OAuth2 proxy project with Mike, and they were super responsive. The notes that I think Evan, you had kind of put together, kind of guiding the process for sandbox level, were super helpful. So across the board, I think that that's a much better experience, and the original tagline of restructuring the tags to scale for the next 10 years of cloud native. I'm seeing some good things there. So.
That's an awesome call out. I love that.
I did have one other thing, which is at the next TOC meeting, the TOC would like a brief overview of our KubeCon session and maybe any other tag activities.
Yeah, and that's a great call out for maybe attendees who have not been attending the public TOC meetings that are on the first. What I forget what it is. Is this what Tuesdays is it?
I want to say it's the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays are the public ones.
I think that's right. They can be found on the calendar.cncf.io website, I believe. And the way that I found them is going to the main calendar, not any specific TOC or tag calendars.
I concur with that. I looked for a dedicated calendar for TOC meetings and could not find one.
Which is just
Yeah,
to
that-
say that if for those who want to go and hear about what all of the tags will be doing at KubeCon, please feel free to join that next TOC meeting on the 7th of October.
We could actually go through those updates for what we're doing at KubeCon here as well, if we wanted. I think that for folks who don't want to make it to the TOC meeting as well. Let me pull up the list.
Do we want to do that during general stand-up or?
Sure. Yes. Sorry, don't
Or-
mean to derail.
I don't know. No.
There.
I just wanted to make sure that, we didn't get too sidetracked while we still did it.
Sounds fair. So yeah, we can prep that. Moving on, project updates. Do we have any updates I'm looking up in the list called out for today?
I have a minor one, which is that last time we had an action item on the Kyverno joint security assessment that was filed as an initiative to convert it to the joint assessment format. I did it for that one, but I don't know if we have other security assessments hanging out in the wrong format that are keeping people from getting routed through the rest of the correct process.
Yeah, that's a great call out. So maybe a bit of a follow up. Sounds fair. Moving forward, we have supply chain listed here. Any updates for our insights group?
We had a fairly light meeting this week where we went over the existing set of stuff, but didn't add anything new.
Noted. Do we have any new compliance topics? I cannot see participants. I know we have kind of been pushing forward on a couple compliance related activities across the TOC and tag security repo.
I think I can add a little bit of an update there. So we recently into the tag security repo merged a definition in the security lexicon for automated governance. So that kind of low hanging fruit we got checked off. I had, and then this is just a repeat from last week, I had put in the tag security and compliance channel just those proposals for the two initiatives, and just still looking to get a little bit of feedback and kind of understand the interest from the group to work on something like that. And then I think something that's kind of maybe a little bit more tangential is I did submit a PR to the TOC repo to add the license compliance question to the general technical review questions. And I saw that Evan and Brent had already given it a review. So I just wanted to add the link here for anyone who is interested in taking a look.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. And maybe as a follow-up question, just because I looked and reviewed that PR and spent a little bit of time thinking about it, is there good examples for us to point to for those who do this process today? And I say this process, I know those who haven't looked at the links, that's a very broad statement. But yeah.
It might be interesting to look at how some of the graduated projects are handling it. I know that maybe from just a licensing perspective, many of the projects are probably using like Snyk or Fossa to do their license scanning. As far as like the attribution, I'm kind of curious how manual that process is. Like, are people just, is that part of the code review where they're like, oh, where did this come from? And they see a link to someone else's code base, something like that. So it might be a good question to ask around.
I think code review is probably mostly the current state of the art. Trail of Bits did an interesting post maybe a month or so ago about finding duplicated code sections. But I haven't tried running their tool, and I don't know how common and feasible it is, and if you could run it, for example, on every commit. But it feels like something that should be, code reviewers should be looking for, to me. But I've been told I'm picky in code reviews.
My sort of an uninformed, naive question. So I know the CNCF has guidance, which in historical fashion, there are no strong requirements. With an Apache 2 license, if you don't have a notices file, is there a requirement to provide any attribution at all? Or can you just freely copy paste code from other projects into your own without issue?
I think even without a notices file, there's a copyright that belongs to somebody, but Michael has his hand up, so I'm going to let him.
Yeah, so a lot of folks don't do this, but you are supposed to still attribute and kind of put that like the code snippet that's there. Now, again, there is a lot of like debate about at what point in time, like, uh, it's not always clear, like any sort of code that's copied is supposed to get the copyright statement. A lot of folks don't do it, and it's not really enforced. Um, yeah, and to what Evan said, it's a license, not a release of copyright. So you still need to have the copyright notice. And there are various sort of rules around some of that. The
I mean,
challenge.
this stuff has gone to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Like the challenge a little bit here is most folks are not looking to sue somebody over you copied like 5 lines of my code, and you didn't properly attribute me. It's more that, but it has led to sort of confusion, which is why, like, if you look at what clearly defined does, it turns out there are a couple of instances where folks did pull in like AGPL code and then claim that their thing is Apache licensed, and it's like, probably not. And I know that has led to issues within OpenS, not a CNCF, where that's one of the reasons why like CNCF was looking at like Guac and similar to sort of do some of the license, help out with the license management because of stuff like clearly defined and whatever else. Because it is not always
had a-
clear.
We
Anyway,
had a
I think
near miss in the Knative project where someone was building something for compatibility with one of IBM's message queues. And it turns out that the licensing on that message queue was not actually free. And they were attempting to vendor in, that code to use it. And we realized that no, in fact, you just couldn't ship this as part of an open source project.
Yep.
So just to add, maybe that's why it's important to, at the very least, like have maybe, for example, like an SPDX identifier when you're copying those over, even just from a license compatibility perspective, if you're using automation to understand whether the licenses in your project are compatible, that's like first step to make sure your automation's actually covering everything.
I agree. I think the conversation is very fascinating, and I want to like first leap to the humans who have to digest this and be like, maybe the answer to this first question is that we don't do anything, and rather than like go spiral out of control, that's okay. It's a starting point, and I appreciated that part of the point of reflection to say, yeah, let's identify this as a gap and move forward, and then hopefully maybe kind of not kind of, but as it relates to compliance efforts under maybe the tag or the TOC, this would be a great point of like, I don't know, bringing to light what are the possibilities, what are the examples, where do they exist, what recommendations do we have?
One thing, and it's slightly tangential, but I think still sort of related here is, I think also identifying, because it's also, I think, a two-way street a little bit, and I think also making sure that I'm working with, whether it's CNCF legal or whatever, to say, hey, what are the general ways that folks approach that sort of problem, so we can also kind of look at how we should be involved, because again, none of us here are lawyers, or at least I don't think any of us here are lawyers, but and we're just trying to do the best that we can. But I do think that there's something there that also, if there's things we could be doing as we learn more about this, so that we could provide guidance also to projects themselves to say, hey, in defining your own governance, here's maybe some boilerplatey sort of language you should include. So when people copy paste your own code, they know what the copyright notice should be, and they know, like, again, I think sometimes it's just simple because, like, usually they just look at the license and say, oh, copyright foo authors. But I think making sure that that's clear and whatever will just help the community in general. So even just folks who are using CNCF projects outside of the context of CNCF and are like, hey, I vendored a CNCF project. How do I distribute the copyright notices? It would be good as well.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating, like, part of the reading the linked material, Jen, that you provided in that question, and saying, like, what are these recommendations back to, again, that two-way street. It provides a lot of nuance. Wonderful. Underneath the compliance efforts, we've kind of bucketed automated governance. So I don't know that we have any automated governance updates.
Not that I know of, except for the definition, if anyone wants to go check that out in the lexicon, but that's it.
Awesome. Moving forward then, KubeCon activities, tag security, and compliance.
Yes, I can get started here, and then people can fill in what I forget. We were going to have a kiosk for the tag at KubeCon. And so in the next couple weeks, do look forward to a sign up sheet for that. I think we have that starting to get ready to go for as people get their schedules put together for KubeCon. So anyone's welcome to help staff it. Hopefully we'll have at least one lead each time, but really anyone's welcome to help just talk about the tag, what we do, cloud native security, all that good stuff. Then we have a few talks as well that kind of focus on the tag at Maintainer Summit, which is the Sunday, I believe, before KubeCon. I'll be giving a talk about pathways, not roadblocks, and like how the tag can, how the tag and how the tags kind of work together to help help projects as pathways. Create these paved paths with things like security assessments and how those go. Two more presentations, which I'll talk about for other people, and then feel free to jump in. We have, I think at the main conference, these are both at the main conference, is A Parallel World of Understanding, CNCF, TOC tags, and TCG. Since by Eddie, we just kind of talking about the whole landscape of tags and all these things that have come out of this whole tag reboot process. So if you're kind of new here, or if you know people who should learn more about this whole process, that should be a good one. And then there's another one from Evan and Brant about Must Should May, a tour of tag security and compliance. That I think we'll also talk more specifically about this tag and some of the work that we do. This is my very quick summary. Feel free to jump in. You all are here. And then do we have any others that I'm missing at any of the co-located events? I guess John and I are helping chair the Cloud Native Security Day as well, which is not specifically this tag, but it is Cloud Native Security, and you all should come. That'll be on Monday of the conference. So that is sort of related as well. But feel free to jump in if I missed things. Should be a really exciting week for us all. So good week, good KubeCon for Cloud Native Security and compliance. Sorry, I'm
So quick question, should the updates here to the TOC just include the tag specific talks, or just anyone in the tag who's giving a talk?
That's a great question. I think we should focus on the tag, the ones about the tag for that, partly just for their time and everything. I know we're all doing lots of great things outside of this. But yeah, and I think that's what they're most, for this context, interested in. And I think I'm not sure exactly what they want us to go over in that. I guess we can kind of chat briefly about that here. Because obviously the kiosk, there's not much we prepare for that exactly. I've made slides in the past, but they're really just to have something on a screen. And oh yes, Rian is here. He probably knows what is expected there. So
Yes, the main ask is just so what are you going to talk about your tag and what's the messaging you give to make sure there's alignment between the TOC and the tags, and that people, I can't remember, there's two tags that are actually touching very much on the same topics to make sure that you don't have a replication of a topic in some other tag field of interest. So we have the best possible outcomes at KubeCon for each tag. So that's just a coordination. And then you also hear what the other people talk about. And yes, I think only talk about what's in the tag. If you want to tell them about other talks you're doing, I'm sure nobody will object, but the primary focus is just aligning all the tags on their messaging, so we don't all do the same thing.
that's good context too. So we should probably focus mostly on those two at the main conference, right? Just to make sure that folks know what we're talking about there. Those are the ones that might overlap and stuff like that.
And I'm assuming in particular to avoid sending two different messages.
Yeah. Yes. I imagine that's the goal. Or having two talks that are the same, right? We don't want that either. So maybe
Awesome.
everyone who's giving one of those talks for the tag can, I guess we already have the summaries for them, but maybe we can chat briefly to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate. I think the only other thing that crossed my mind, and more so for trying to do some brainstorming, is just sheer like other opportunities. And I can't say that I have any top of mind, but I'm always curious if people are seeking anything during KubeCon, especially from the tag perspective. I'd be really interested and open to kind of hearing feedback from broader community of things that they'd like to see, or potential opportunities if we're talking about like the sandbox reviews processes or security assessments and whatnot. Like KubeCon is a great time to do some synchronous discussion. Can't say that we've done asynchronous discussion outside of the kiosks from a tag perspective at KubeCons.
That's a
In the
great question.
past, we've sometimes done security slam, but that's a separate thing. That's a lot of organization that we haven't had time to do this time.
Yeah, and as people are ruminating, I do know that like we not for this KubeCon, but if this is the kind of thing that people have good ideas for, there is an opportunity for us to do a what do they call it? A Contrib Fest, I believe. If there's anything like more hands-on workshop-y that we want to do. We so far haven't done it just because we don't have, we're not a code project, so haven't had anything to do that for. But if people have ideas, we're always open to that kind of thing. So for EU or future.
I love it. Lots of opportunities for sure. Okay. Any other topics for KubeCon that anybody wants to discuss? So I'm sure we'll have more in the coming days, but wonderful. All right. I have not looked at issues. I have not also seen any issues coming through outside of Evan. You have a PR that you just opened for kind of some call to action, but
I had an issue that I said I was going to deal with a month ago, and then last week I said, "Oops, I didn't deal with it." And this meeting was coming up, and shame is a powerful motivator.
You still did it.
As I said, shame is a powerful motivator.
I love it. Take a look at these items. As for any new ones, I think I missed last week's meeting due to travel. Did we discuss this initiative proposal?
We should discuss it because it's a little bit lower in the agenda too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So I will just say
yeah.
to start, the charter for tag security and compliance was merged in. So given that the scope of that is defined, we can officially, on our own, without TOC approval, create this as an initiative under tag security and compliance. So a little bit less overhead maybe in doing that. I think maybe the question to start with is when do we want to more formally kick it off? And I'm not sure if the issue has officially designated an initiative lead. I have volunteered as a representative of the tag itself. So, but I think maybe we've got some folks here from the proposal too who can speak to that.
I'll give space for that, but I do just want to mention, I think basically the way it's set up, we can accept the initiative. Looks like there's lots of excitement from lots of folks in the tag and elsewhere about this initiative, so I think that sounds great. And then I think we can organize our backlog however we want after that, right, based on people's availability and timing. So I'm not sure what we do to accept it, but I think I mean, I would say that if there's no other objections, I think we could probably just do that while we're all here right now. But
Yeah, we need a responsible individual to drive it, which looks like Sadarupta volunteered to do that when they kicked it off, and they seem still engaged. So with that and John as the tag rep, I feel like maybe we vote and say,
yeah,
you know,
the only other concern is that they did mention it as an AI initiative. So but I think that but because it's authorization and authentication, I think I feel okay with us at least help like
Karina said it's our lane. Go for it. That last update. So
Okay. Just one question. Hi, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's the update about collaborations about the self-assessment. I don't know if you have take a look, but is the Google Docs attached in the comments in the etcd technical scope? And basically, it's to if you can take a look, or some people can contribute to do some
This
reviews.
looks like it's Kubernetes 6 security.
Yes, it's related to Kubernetes self-assessment 6 security.
But this Kubernetes 6 security is separate from CNCF tag security.
Oh, yeah, it was only an idea if you can collaborate. Like, you know that there's a lot of people on security here, and also that anyone can review it. Just that's only the approach.
Okay.
Also some review how is the procedure, and yeah, just take a look and give us some advices. Like, I am open to to hear about anyone that want to, especially because many people is from control plane, and I know that they help a lot in the SIG security Kubernetes, and they did some recommendations about the methodology. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a great call out.
Okay. That's all from me. I don't know if you have any questions or something.
I think raising awareness about it is the great first step. And then if we have room, either A, unofficially to get involved, or B, there is some next step we want to take to formalize this group's participation, then I think either of those are valid paths forward.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Holnif, too.
I did want to get back to the MCP server authorization white paper. Does anyone have objections to us running this? Otherwise, I'll just record that we unanimously agreed to do it. 10, 9, 8. Okay, I've seen enough thumbs ups.
All right, I believe we've hit a majority of the topics of discussion. Are there any other agenda items that people wanted to add that we could discuss?
Actually, I have a question. So, I'm from the TOC AI initiative channel. So, I have a question: so how to like calibrate with TAG with this MCP server authentication authorization standard white papers. So, how do we like work together?
That's a really good question. I think the norming on initiatives and kind of the structure maybe is still a bit of a dynamic place, but overall, I think some of this could come organically. We've in the past typically run working groups with, working groups, initiatives, whatever you may call them, kind of under the structure of what works best for the people involved and, what kind of, cadence for meeting uh, most suitable to those who want to be involved to discuss synchronously versus async. I don't know if there are additional hurdles about like, officially two groups working together, but yeah, kind of open for discussion.
Okay, thank you so much.
John, do you want to say something, or do you want me to just speak for you?
You can speak what you would like to say.
Okay. So a couple of things that having the tag liaison helps with is they can put meetings on the CNCF calendar. I suspect that we probably for each initiative want to create a new Slack channel as well. So we'd have a specific Slack channel for the white paper. And we can cross-link it from all of our other Slacks. Also, we may want to check in a directory where we can, put both a README that describes what the initiative's about and any intermediate material and so forth in a place that's discoverable by outside people. John also has the ability to start project boards and things like that if you need it. So that's basically stuff that you get by having a tag liaison. But if you don't need all those things, like, you're not going to be checking in any code, for example, then you don't have to take advantage of all of them.
That's great.
I think it's a great call out though. Thank you. Barring any other discussions, do we have community demos scheduled for future meetings as of current?
Justin had requested we do another debate about when to pull in dependencies, early or late. I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer to pick a side. Or we also need a moderator. So we actually need 3 people for this.
All right, noted. Imagine we can start to refine and see if that is a possibility for next week. Otherwise, still looking for other opportunities of those who want to either present or do a community demo. Yes, Matt.
Yeah, so perhaps for later on this month, like the 3rd or 4th week of this month, in the supply chain security insights, one of the early activities that we're doing is a survey of CNCF projects in terms of looking at their release artifacts to see what sorts of things are there today, just sort of like what's the state of the CNCF project ecosystem. And we've been working on some tooling, and I would expect in the next few weeks we'll have an initial sample that we could report back out on and maybe like show the little hacky tool we've used. I don't know if that meets the bar for a demo in this group or not, but if it's interesting, you know, we could do like a little 5-minute thing of like, here's what we've found. I'm kind of raising my hand to give myself, I'm working on this to give myself like a lever to make sure it happens. But I'd be happy to do that. I didn't see.
Do you want to say 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
3 weeks, certainly 2 weeks, potentially.
We'll put you on for the 22nd.
Okay, sure. Give me a date. That's great. I'll update our project plan to make sure that we've got something ready ahead of that. But it'll really just be like here's what we found without any sort of value judgment or anything like that. But just what's the state of release artifacts, specifically as they are in terms of like the GitHub release artifacts that we could find in a naive, like in best effort way, just as a baseline. So. But I won't go into like what's in the SBOMs or like kind of like anything like that, but just like what exists today. That's findable via the GraphQL API with a little bit of data analysis.
Yeah, I think that'd be wonderful and probably also enlightening to hear about the options that I think probably have a little bit of breadth of where are people storing those artifacts and how discoverable are they.
Yeah, I got to give Evan some kudos here. Like early on, he was like, "You might be surprised that it's not super obvious," and I was like, "No, of course it's going to be obvious. They'll just be sitting there. This should be simple, right?" And then like I hacked on something, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't simple at all, right?" But yeah, I've got a little tool on my personal GitHub that we might end up throwing in the TOC repo. But yeah, so
I think it would actually be a very useful thing, even if it's incomplete, to be able to show, you know, here's a start, and you know, go ahead and show us how you can do better.
yeah, well, I'll definitely commit to the first one. The second one, we'll see. It's active work, so. The 22nd, okay.
Wonderful. And one that I have been proposing, which is very, I don't know, high level and maybe not terribly exciting, but something I still am interested about is the security manager role permissions within GitHub, given how many of maybe the CNCF projects operate out of GitHub, and thinking about maybe more advocacy around what exists today for either A, the role, or B, just, some of the processes with which I think we already try to advocate for. We always try to advocate for, do you have security personnel in your project? Are you thinking actively about security? And that's great. Do you have like a security committee for those maybe more mature projects? And I've kind of seen maybe that.
Can we put you on to talk about that on the 15th?
Let's do it.
Great.
We'll see what I come up with. Just kind of trying to look at that role as another option. I think I was going to go like revoke some of my privileges on one of my projects and just give myself that role and see what I can do. Cool. If anybody else does have demo ideas that they want to submit in the future, and or discuss, again, demos are supposed to be very lightweight, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, present a security and compliance related topic. Bring what you have. Don't feel like you need a fully mature offering in order to discuss some topic. Yeah. And then we have presentations. Those are longer form, usually around a larger topic, such as a project presentation or otherwise. Always available for opportunities there. In the remaining 10 minutes, do we have any other agenda items before we close out today? All right, 10 seconds, nothing heard. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we will see you all again next week.
Thanks, everyone.